it is required for evaluating the state data. These are the concepts that I had discussed in a yesterday's class. So in a modeling, we know that there are three models, right? So we have a model for domain, static model, and the state model. So next thing is we need to identify the domain interaction model. So how do we model? How can we model the domain with respect to the interaction model? So when we say an interaction model, so it is dependent on a domain analysis. So when we are using the analysis, so what are the different concepts that we have extracted or different source of information that we have collected. So whatever the data that we have collected, so how to make that as a that has to be made as a concept, and we need to bring in terms of a structural relationships and not the users. We are not identifying who are the users at the beginning, but in terms what we are identifying the entire structure of the system, how to model it and how to utilize it with respect to a particular application that we need to understand. To do that, what we are doing, so there are various steps in the domain interaction modeling. So those steps are, so the first thing is we have a iterating the analysis, refining the analysis model, restating the requirements, and analysis and domain. These are the four different steps that we need to identify. So first, when it comes for a domain interaction modeling. So, in our interaction modeling, first we need to identify the problem statement. So, understanding the problem statement is the first step. That is a major step that we need to that has to be taken care. So for that, what we are identifying what type of problem statement, what are the application, what are the circumstances or circularities that we are using. So what are the different ways that we are trying to use to solve that particular problem. So if we are identifying the problem in terms of a different parts, so how we can interact with that particular problem with respect to a particular application. That means a problem may be divided into sub-modules, right? So whatever the sub-modules that we have divided with respect to a particular application, so how we can integrate that later. So whether it is in a linear way or not, that has to be identified. Next thing is understand the problem with all its implications. That means when you have defined a problem statement, so when you are identifying with respect to a particular approach, so what are the implications? That means implication indicates the pros and the cons. So we are defining the features of the system. What are the different features of the system? So how do we define the features of the system? It will be based on an existing system. So you might be observing the real world environment. Based on a real world environment, we are trying to identify what are the problems that are arising. So if those problems are, whatever the problems are there, so that is the drawback of the current or a existing system. So if you are trying to bring it like a different ways of different approaches, so what are the features that you are trying to add? So what are the implications? So how it can be handled in a real world? So that has to be indicated. So for that, what we need to do, we need to analyze it in a iterative manner. That means what first we need to collect all the requirements with respect to a different stakeholders. So either it can be a domain experts or it can be a through the questionnaires or through the people or the customers. So there can be a different stakeholders from whom you have collected all the data. So you need to have a revision of this analysis. So for that, what we need to do, we need to have a we need to whatever the analysis that we are having. So for that, we need to make a proper approximation. So then what we need to do, we need to make a iterate the analysis to understand the increasing level of the problem statement. जाने दो ना So that has to be identified. So for that, what we need to do, we need to refine the analysis model. So for refining the next step is refining the analysis model. So for refining the analysis model, what we need to do, we need to identify the we need to identify what are the inconsistencies are there. That means we have collected all the requirements. We need to refine the data. So how do we refine the data? That is based on a filtering. So whatever the filtering that we have applied for a data, so that sometimes it may show the inconsistency in a data and imbalances across the model. So whatever the first model that we have developed, it may not be matching with the interaction model. So what we need to do, we need to identify where the inconsistencies and imbalances are there across the model. Either it can be a class model, state model, or any interaction model that we need to identify. After identifying that, what we need to do, we need to iterate the different portions to produce a cleaner and more coherent model. That means we need to have a proper relationship between all the three models. So whatever you have done with respect to a class model, so in a class model, whatever the behavior that you have specified, so that has to come with respect to a state modeling. So from the state modeling, from that state modeling, whatever we have done with respect to the transition events, whatever it is going that we have identified, we need to identify a proper object or a proper use cases and how this use case, what are the functionalities. So all these things has to be determined in a proper way. So next thing is we need to try to refine the class to increase sharing and improve the structure. So for this, what we need to do, we need to refine the class. When we are trying to model a class, so what we need to do, we are refining the different classes, which are related classes, which are unrelated classes. So whichever the unrelated classes are there, we are trying to um, eliminate those class, or what we are doing, we are trying to introduce a generalization. That is what meant increase the sharing and improve the structure. That means to reduce the complexity, what we are trying to do is we are trying to bring the generalization. So through the generalization, what we can identify, we can improve the structure of the system. So similarly, the same generalization can be used in a use case generalization. So by using that, what we can have, whatever the functionalities that we have specified, that all the functionalities can be stated in the model. So that is how we are trying to improve the structure of the system. Next thing is remove the extraneous classes and association. So as I said, whatever the extra classes are there, unrelated classes are there, we need to identify all the unrelated classes which are not in a proper way. So we need to remove all the extra classes and those association has to be removed. So that is the main concern that we need to identify to bring out a good model which seems to be a almost perfect system. And the next is restating the requirements. So in a restating the requirements, so first thing is we need to perform, first stage is a analysis stage. So after performing the complete analysis stage, what we need to do, we need to model the entire system. So after modeling the entire system, what we need to identify, we need to identify what are the different basic requirements are there. So whether we are determining with respect to the scope of whether it is within a scope or not. So if it is not in a scope, then what we need to do, we need to redefine the statement. So that is what the first step that we need to do. And then next thing is we need to identify whether these are the whatever the requirements that we have collected, whether these requirements are a real requirements. If these are real requirements, so whether we are considering that as a part of the model. So if we are considering that as a part of a model, so whether it can have a performance, whether it is going to affect on a performance, or with respect to the performance, is there any constraints that has to be identified. So for that, what we need to do, we need to state the we need to identify the statement. We need to have a clear statement, and all the statement, whatever the criteria or whatever the specifications, all the functionalities that we have specified, it should be a clear, unambiguous, and it should be in a form of a optimization criteria. It should be it should have a optimal solution that has to be bring out through the restating the requirements. And next thing is, what we need to do is, we need to verify the final model with respect to the requester. That means what we need to identify once everything is finalized. So we know that that is a final statement. After identifying that as a final model, so what we are doing, we are trying to identify the requester. So what does requester will do? So whatever the requirements that we have collected, so whether those requirements are practical, are incorrect or impractical. So whether any corrections has to be made with respect to the requirements, all these things has to be identified. So for that, what we are trying to do, we are trying to identify with respect to the business experts. So with respect to the business experts and the domain experts, we need to verify the analysis model. So to make sure that whatever the requirements that we have collected, whatever the model that we are going to do with respect to the requirements, it is almost correct. So that is how the restating the requirements can be done with respect to the business requirement, not with respect to the computer experts. We are not dealing with any computer experts. So if you are working on a particular domain, we need to communicate with that particular domain expert or a business expert who is going to help us out how the requirements can be collected in a proper way. And the last step is, we have a analysis and a design. So in the analysis and design, whatever the requirements that we have collected um, fully, so we need to identify that there is no bias in a particular implementation. That means we have not left out, or we have not uh, uh, eliminated the good requirements that has to be taken care. And whatever the information without biasing that we have collected, that should be useful for the implementation purpose. And whatever the implementation that we are going to perform, it should be in a possible manner, in all possible manner. And one more thing is, we need to identify so how a perfect analysis can be done later, when we want to make a development stages. So it should not be too rigid, and we should have some rules for performing the analysis. And whenever we are making the rules, it should preserve the flexibility, and it should permit the changes. So before making the implementation, what we need to have, we need to have a flexibility in correcting the requirements. So that is how we are trying to manage with respect to the analysis and design. So this completes the chapter 12. So you have any doubts with respect to domain analysis? Anyone? Sinchana?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So next we have a in an analysis stage, we have two parts, right? One is a domain analysis and one is a application analysis. So in domain analysis, I have discussed all the three types of models: class, state, and the interaction model. So how to make a modeling with respect to a particular domain that we have discussed. Next, what we have is a application analysis. So when we are moving with respect to the application analysis, this application analysis deals with the both before having this application analysis, we have discussed on all the domain models. Where in our domain models we had a static models, and with respect to the static models, whatever the operations that we have indicated, so what are the behavior that are going to be observed, all those things we have discussed. So here in a application analysis, so first we are discussing only with respect to the interaction modeling. So when it comes for an interaction modeling, we have all the three different interaction modeling. Either it can be a use case diagram, or it can be a sequence diagram, or it can be a activity diagram. So when we are trying to begin with respect to the interaction modeling, so what we need to do, we need to identify the boundary of the system. That means whenever a problem statement is being defined, so what we need to do, first we need to define a boundary of the system or the scope of the system. So after identifying the boundary of the system, so we need to identify what are the different use cases. So from the use case, what we need to do, we need to extract all the scenarios. So when we are after extracting all the scenarios, what is the next step? So from the scenarios, we need to draw the sequence diagram. So that is the normal procedure that when we are making the application analysis. So when you say a use case, what does that use case identify? A use case determines the functionality of any system. So once the requirements and the features is being determined, so we need to identify what are the functionalities of the system. So what are the different work that can be carried out with respect to that particular system that we are trying to identify or put up with respect to the use case system. So next thing is we need to prepare the activity for the complex use cases. So we cannot say that all the system, whatever the system that we are dealing, all the systems are exactly simple. So there can be some systems which can be more complex, and determining the use cases for those systems may be very complex. So in such cases, what we need to do, we need to prepare a activity diagram for those complex system. So this what is the benefit of using this activity diagram? So this activity diagram will indicate the flow of a system. So how the system is going to work. So what is the initial state? What is the different actions that are being taken with respect to that particular system? So once the system has the different actions, so when it is going to end the system with respect to the final state. So those things, the entire flow of the problem statement or the problem can be determined through the activity diagram, even though the system is a complex system. And the next thing is, if we are using the use case diagram, so we need to identify what are the different use cases that we are using, and we need to create a relationship. So how we are going to create a relationship with respect to a particular use case? We are trying to identify the different actors. So based on a different actors, we are trying to identify, or we are trying to map those systems with respect to the use cases. So that is how we are performing the application analysis. So for performing this application analysis, we need to follow some steps. Okay. So the steps for constructing the application model are: So first thing is we need to determine the boundary of the system. Second step is find the actors, find the use cases, find the initial state and the final state, prepare a normal scenario, add the variation, add and exception scenario, find the external events, prepare an activity diagram for the complex use cases, organize the actors and the use cases, and check against the domain class model. So these are the different steps that we are trying to identify for preparing the application model. So when it comes for a first step, that is determining the boundary of the system, what we need to do for determine how do we define a boundary of the system, to what extent I need to develop a particular application. So for that what we need to do, we need to determine the scope of the system. Just we are identifying what are the features of the system. So depending upon the features of the system, we are putting the boundary of the system. That means if I am using a, say if I am using any mobile application, okay, say for example you are using a Paytm. So when you are developing a Paytm mobile app, so you are trying to restrict your application. So where are the where you can make a payment. So whether only for a mobile recharge or only for groceries, or where you can make a payment. So you are trying to put up a limitations where this Paytm app can be used. That means where all you can try to use that particular app. You are trying to identify, you are restricting the usage of that particular application. How, that means you are putting some boundary, you are identifying the boundary of the system. So how to identify the boundary of the system? I think we need to specify the functionalities. What are the different, so if when I have chosen this problem statement, so what are the features of this problem statement? What are the functionalities of the problem statement? Say for example, if we are developing a online web application for internal marks. So what happens? The application is meant only for entering the IM marks, and you need to identify after entering the IM marks what can be done. So whether it has to be sent to the parents, whether it has to be sent to the students, whether it can be used only within a department. So you are trying to put up a scope of a system where you can use. So that is how you need to put a boundary of the system based on a functionality. So we need to identify which is the most important concept or which is the most important functionalities. So if we are trying to put those functionalities, when you have put up a most important functionalities, so you need to look behind whether any functionalities is being left out or it is being omitted. So if it is omitted, then what we need to do, we need to restate the functionalities. So to draw the system boundary correctly, what we need to do, we need to treat the system as a black box. So when you treat the system as a black box, so whatever the functionalities or whatever the process that are there, so all this processing statement will be so whatever the whatever the functionalities are there, whatever the processing are there, so that will be not seen to the external user with respect to the outside world. So whatever the entire processing will be there, so that entire processing with respect to the system will be treated as a single object. So all the internal details, so how the processing is going to happen, so what are the implementation challenges are there, all these things, all the minor information, whichever the minor informations are there, how the processing is going to happen, everything will be hidden from the end user. Then what we need to do, we need to identify if I'm developing the system, so what is the purpose of developing this system. So if I develop that particular system, who are the users of that particular system, whether it is useful to the society, whether it is useful to a particular industry, or within a industry, that has to be determined. So if we have, once the system is determined, so with respect to the view of the system, so who are the actors, or who are going to interact with the systems, that has to be identified. So here what happens, sometimes during the design phase, we can change the internal implementation of the system to maintain the external behavior. That means the internal behavior of an object may be affecting, or the external objects which are interacting with the system may have an effect on the internal implementation of the object. So that has to be taken care. So here, while we are preparing the boundary of the system, we should not consider it as a humans as a part of the system. So you need to identify the entire modeling has to be taken as a human organization. So when it comes for a human organization, it can be for a particular department or for a particular business. So, with respect to that, what happens? Humans are going to interact with that particular system, and they can take a proper action. And if there are any errors that are performed by any person, that should allow for the user to have an access to the system. So we have taken a case study. We had taken a case study of a ATM. So when it comes for a case study of an ATM, what we have used two things, right? In a automation teller. So we had a class called as a cashier transaction, and we had a cashier, where the cashier belongs to include a human interaction. So now what we need to do, we need to identify. So with respect to customers' perspective, so how the business should be taken care. So for the commercial purpose, when we have deployed the ATM machine, so we are considering only the cashier application. So that cashier will be internal to the bank. That means whatever the cashier plans that we have taken, so that is required only with respect to a bank, not with respect to the ATM. So in that way, we need to try to distinguish how the system has to be taken care. And the second step is we need to find the actors. So to find the So to find the actors, what we need to do, we need to once the boundary of the system is being identified, we need to identify who are the we need to identify the external object that interact directly with the system. Say for example, in a for our ATM, what we can have a customer, bank, and a consortium. Okay, so what happens? The customer has a query with respect to his account. Maybe it can be he may want to have extract a mini statement from the ATM, or he may require withdrawals. He may want to make a withdrawal. So it can be any type of a query statement. So when he want to have when we are identifying query account, so the query account is a particular functionality or a particular use case. Either it can be a withdrawal or mini statement, or any pin change or any other queries. So when we have identified that has a particular use case, so how the system, how we need to identify who are the actors. So the actors can be humans, it can be external devices, or any other software system. You cannot say all the time the actors can be of humans. It can be any other thing that has to be determined. It can be a central server. So these are the examples of actors. So when we are trying to define an actor, so who are the actors and how the actors are going to interact with respect to a particular application that has to be identified. So to do that, what we need to do, we need to identify the behavior of the actors with respect to the expected sequences. So whatever the functionalities are there, so with respect to that particular application design, so we need to identify all the actors. So while finding the actors, we need to identify with respect to the uh, subset of the functionalities of the system. Depending upon the functionalities of the system, we are trying to extract all the different kinds of external objects which can be represented as an actor. So when we take an example of a ATM, so a particular person may be both a bank teller and a customer of the same bank. So, for example, for a manual system, a customer or a person approaches the bank in one or two times. So here, what happens with respect to the ATM application? The actors can be a customer, bank, and a consortium. So the customer is going to interact with the banking system either for depositing the amount or for withdrawal of amount or for any fund transfer of from his account. So what is the bank? What is the use of a bank? The bank as a individual customer, the relationship between a bank and the customer is with respect to a account. If a customer is holding an account with respect to a particular bank XYZ, then what happens? We can have a relationship between, we can have create a relationship use with respect to the bank and the customer. So how that interaction can happen? In between, we need to bring out the use case, and there can be a consortium. So why this consortium is being required? So the consortium is composed of different banks. It is made up of different banks where we are using the bank code to identify each and every bank. So that is how we are trying to find the actors with respect to a particular application domain. And the next thing is we need to find the use case. So when we want to find the use case, we know that use case are nothing but the functionalities of the system. So how these functionalities of the system will be identified in a different ways. So who are the actors and who uses the system. So depending upon that, what we are trying to do, we are trying to determine the use case. So it is a partition of the functionality of the system into a small discrete units. That means when you say a ATM has a application, so for ATM application we have a initiate this. We have four different uh, use cases. So one is a initiate session, account query, process transaction, and transmit data. So what happens? All these four use cases is being determined. So how we are going to determine them based on the functionality of the system. So what are the features of the system are there? So what is the boundary of the system? So depending upon that, we are extracting all these functionalities. So once the functionalities is being determined, so each and every use case, what is the behavior that it is going to do? So what are the different behaviors of these use cases that has to be determined. So for that, what we need to do, we need to draw a preliminary use case diagram. So how to draw the preliminary use case diagram for any application? So first we need to identify who are the actors. So and next thing is we need to identify the functionalities. What are the functionalities of that particular application? So once the functionalities has been identified, so how the behavior is going to change with respect to that particular use case has to be determined. Then what we need to do, we need to map the we need to create a relationship between the actors and the use cases. So that is how we are trying to determine the use case of the particular application. So here what we have taken an example of a use case diagram for a ATM. So here what we have a customer, bank, and we have a consortium, and we have four different use cases: initiate session, query account, process transaction, and transmit data. So for this what we have taken, so we can map the active customer for initiate session, a query account, and a process transaction. So when we have mapped this with respect to a customer, so why we are using this relationship between a customer and these three use cases? Because in an initiate session, what happens? The ATM establishes the identity of the user, and it will after identifying the user, whatever the actions are there or whatever the events that has to be carried out by the user, that will be allowed, that can be allowed once the initiation is being done. Next thing is query account. So when it comes for a querying of an account, so what happens, the system can provide a general data for an account. So I said we can use a query account for getting the what is the meaning, what is the current balance. So when was the transaction made? So what is the date of making the last statement? So all these queries can be inquired through the mini statement. So that is how the query account can be done. So next thing is process transaction. So when it comes for a process transaction, so what we are trying to identify, we are identifying the different processes. So this process transaction can be associated with the bank, consortium, and a customer. So a customer can make a process transaction. That means he can make a deposit, he can withdraw the money, and he can make a transfer. So to make all these things, what we need to have so the process transaction is being associated with the bank and the bank consortium. So that what happens when we are identifying with respect to a bank and a consortium. So if he is making a withdrawal at a any other ATM, so what happens that the same data has to be updated with respect to that particular bank. So the data will be updated with that particular bank. So we are identifying the relationship between all the three different actors. Next thing is transmit data. So when the customer uses other than his home bank, what happens? All the data has to be transmitted to the corresponding banking details. So if the data is not being updated with respect to that banking, then what happens? There is an inconsistency and imbalances of the data. So that has to be identified. So next thing is we need to identify the initial and final events. So before identifying any events or any processing, so we need to identify which is the first event that has to be carried out, which is the last or when the process is going to be completed. So that we call it as an initial and a final events. So for that what we are identifying, we are identifying the use cases. So where these use cases are the part of discrete pieces, or we are call it as a functionalities, and the users actors are involved with respect to the particular use case. So with respect to the ATM case study, what we have a four different use cases. That is a initiate session. So the initiate session can be the initial event. So why we are calling that initiate session has a initial event? Because to carry out the further query account or a process transaction, so first the customer has to insert this cash card. So once the cash card is being inserted, so it has a two different events. So the system keeps the cache card or returns the same cache card. So these are the two different final events with respect to the initiate session. So if the customer is a valid customer or if he is a authorized customer, then what happens? It can move to the query account. It will display the menu. So what are the transaction or what are the queries that a particular customer is having? So whether he want to have a mini statement, whether he need to know the balance, okay, so whether he want to withdraw an amount, so it will raise a different queries. So with respect to that queries, after the initial event is being carried out, so what happens, it will accept the customer's request for accounting the data. So whatever the query that he has given, so it will process, the system is going to process that, and it will return back the result to the customer. So for that, what it has to do, it has to process the transaction. So the next event is a process transaction. In a process transaction, what happens, it has two events. So the first thing is, it will initiate for the transaction, whatever the requested data is there, it will identify. Say for example, if I am requesting for withdrawal of an amount, say I want to draw a 5,000 of an amount, but in my account I have only 5,000 amount. So I cannot draw all the amount because the minimum balance has to be maintained. So what happens? It will go for an initiation of the process. It will identify whether the balance after maintaining the minimum balance, whether the customer can withdraw an amount. So if not, so what happens? It will fail the transaction. So again, it has a two different events. So one is a committing an event and one is a aborting the transaction. That means how the commitment of that transaction is going to happen. So if all the transaction is successful, then we are calling it as a committing of that particular transaction, or else what happens, the transaction will be aborted. So that is how the transaction can be taken care. And the next thing is transmit the data. So whatever the data, whatever the event that has been caused for requesting of the account or details, so all the data has to be communicated with respect to the bank. So for that, what we need to do, we need to identify, is there any error in a system. So the error can be through the network or through the power or through any other system failure. So all these things has to be rectified. Once these problems are rectified, then what happens, we can have a final event, which is a successful transmission of the data. Whatever the data that has to be transmitted with respect to a particular bank, all the data can be transmitted. So that is how we are indicating the finding the final state. Do you have any doubts? Yes, speak out. So for internals, you will be having up to this application interaction model, not complete, up to finding the initial and final state. Is it clear? The 13th chapter will not be all complete because it has not been completed, right? That's the reason it will be up to finding up to the first 4 steps. Whatever the 4 steps that I have explained now. Till there you will be having for internals. Any other doubt? Sridhar?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So that is what the test portion, right? I told the module 3 complete, but for module 3, this 13 chapter has to be completed. Still 2 more topics are left. I cannot give that for our internal. So up to finding the initial state and final state, up to there it will be there. That 13 chapter. Okay.